Well, welcome back to Watercolors with Wendy. This week we are finishing up our sweater weather theme, which basically is just me putting sweaters on things. I hope you enjoyed the cat. So now we're going to make a coffee cup with a sweater on it because why not? I'm going to use the same 4x6 note card paper that I always use for these little mini tutorials, and then the card so you can stick it on. We're going to do this vertical today instead of horizontal because I want a little bit of a longer coffee cup. If you don't want to put the arm on the coffee cup, the handle on the coffee cup, you don't have to. But let's go ahead and get started because we've got to sketch out what we're putting on here first before we can start painting. So for these kind of things, I like to put a little mark at the bottom so I know where my bottom is, and then I'm going to put a mark at the top. Okay. So for a coffee cup, we need to make basically an oval, which is going to be our top of the cup. And this is going to set our angles for the rest of the project. So we want to have this down first. You just want to do kind of a squat oval. We can adjust it as we work on the drawing. And we're making it a little taller. And we need to do the sides of the cup. And then you want to follow that same line, that same curvature that you have right here. Okay. Now we want to put a lip on this cup, and I have an idea for the lip of this cup that's going to be really pretty. And then we need some coffee inside of it. So we need to run following that same curve again. Do a little line like this, and then you have your coffee inside your cup. Okay, and it's a note card. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. We're working on our drawing skills while we do these fun little projects. We're not going too crazy. So this sweater coffee is going to have a ribbed section up at the top and then a ribbed section at the bottom. So we're just going to, again, follow that curve. Follow your curve, and you want to pop it out a little bit because this is the sweater that's around our coffee cup. Then that curves back a little. Okay. Now we're going to do the rest of the coffee cup. You can make it this tall. I don't know that I'm going to. We'll see. I'm going to move that line. I think I've decided to make it too long and skinny. Who knows? It is your project. Do whatever you want with it. Okay. Again, follow your curve. Now we're going to do the bottom. We're going to follow the curve, but we're going to come in just a little bit. Okay. And again, following this curve that we've established. And there you have a basic coffee cup shape. Now to make the sweater, let's start in the center and just put in like an oval. This is your ribbing. And then you're going to take the ribbing out. And as it gets to the edge, they get a little closer together. And then that one goes around. And then you do the same on the other side. And then we have that little edge. See? Now the bottom is also going to be ribbed, like a big fuzzy, like the edges of your mittens. We're going to do the same thing on the bottom. And if they get fat, it's okay. We're going to paint over them. It's no big deal. Okay. Easy peasy. I'm going to add a little curve here. I made that a little boxier than I wanted. Now I'm going to do some straight up and down lines. And I'm going to move them out a little bit. And then do two close together. Spread it out. It almost looks like it could be a candy cane if we wanted to. And if you want to do a candy cane, do a candy cane. There is no painting police. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so you can leave it like this, or you can add a handle to your coffee mug. So the handle is going to kind of go in to where the rib is and comes around and down. Then you do the other side, around and down. You can just erase that, and that kind of will go right into the rib, like we cut a hole in the sweater for the handle of the coffee cup. And the best part about having a coffee cup that has a sweater on it is your hands won't get cold or hot. Your hands won't get hot. Oh, it has been one heck of a week. Anyway, then the next thing you do is just like these little kind of V's, because we're going to make like pretend cables. I knit, and I know they don't really look like this, but we're just doing the impression of a sweater, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So there you go. Now you have a mug and a sweater, which is all we need for this project. Then you're going to need some colors. I'm using the old palette from when I did the sweater cat. So we'll call this sweater coffee, and then we have sweater cat. So then you just need to make your decisions. What color do you want your sweater? And I think I'm going to keep the coffee cup white, but as we all know, white is not a color that always is there. So I'm going to grab some turquoise blue and try to open this. Again, it's Dr. P.H. Martin's. So if you didn't do sweater cat on this dirty, dirty palette is saddle brown, black, and scarlet, and now some turquoise blue. I don't know how much I'm going to use that scarlet, but I'm going to probably use the blue, as I want like a sky blue light sweater. And then I also have this Japanese watercolor in gold, and we're going to do a nice little like gold rim around the cup to make it fancy. So let's just get the basic color in on our sweater, and then get the coffee in, and then we'll move on. And as always, there's some bleed proof white. There's always bleed proof white. It's just one of my favorite things. And I also did not tape this down. So if you need to tape it down, go ahead, but you probably shouldn't need to. So this is really bright. I want like a light sky blue. So I'm going to just keep adding water to this to really lighten it up. I can't make it too light or it won't contrast with the blue colors or the red colors that we have to put in to make the whites and the outlines of our coffee cup show. So this looks pretty good to me. It may not be enough. We'll get more water, a little more paint. We'll see if not, we'll add some more, and that'll be cool because then we'll have some variations. So I'm using a medium brush, and I'm really just going to kind of wash this on right over my sketch. Now to do the shading with this, you're going to want the sides to be darker and the center to be lighter. So we can put this first layer on, and then we can darken it as we feel necessary. These can just run together. It's no big deal. Trying to have the palette in the videos for you guys a little bit more often, but man, they are right where I like to put my hand. Okay, so let's finish up in here. And if you're curious what kind of palette this is, it's a plastic plate from the grocery store. You can get them in packs of 10. I like that it has sides that I can take the color up onto and just kind of get an idea of what I'm doing. I really like how this turquoise is looking. Okay. So we've got our basic color on. I might throw in some dots of color. It's still kind of wet, so that'll all spread out. And if you're thinking you want this to be kind of a tweedy sweater, adding in dots like this will make the tweed, make it look a little bit more tweedy. I like knitting with tweed yarn, but you don't want to go too crazy, as if it's too crazy, then you lose your cables, which I have learned from knitting. Okay, so let's clean out our brush. And then we have, this is dried on. That's okay, it's watercolor. So you just need to put some water on it to reactivate it. Now, saddle brown is a pretty dark color. I'm going to pull some over here, and it has so many undertones. It has red undertones, it has green undertones. It's a really fun color to work with because it does a lot of fun work for you. So now we're going to make coffee, and we're going to make it darker down here. Now, I drink my coffee black. That being said, you can always go in here and do, I'm rinsing my brush, do some latte art if you wanted to with the bleed proof white, and maybe we'll try that. And do like a little latte heart foam or something like that. Um, but I just want straight coffee today, is what I'm feeling. And again, I'm working with my medium sized brush. Okay. All right, so we've done the basic things that require color, and everything else is going to really just require shadows. Um, we'll add in the shadows and everything else. So we're going to work on the handle to see how dark we want to get this coffee color, not coffee color, cup color. So I have got my black over here, and it is, very, very black. I am using quite a bit of water to tone it down, and then I'm going to grab a little bit of blue to soften it up a little bit. And I want it really, really, really watered down. We are just doing the impression. We don't want this to look like a dirty cup. We just want it to be able to see it and see that it's there. I realize that's just weird talking, but it makes sense. So you want to tap in some color, and you're going to have a shadow down in here. So you tap that in real lightly and kind of pull it up. You're going to get your brush wet, tap it on your paper towel, and then just pull that up into here. We'll get a little bit more of that shadow color. Oops. Like I said, I don't like to put it right there because it's in my way. But we're going to do a little bit like this, trying to leave the center pretty white, and then kind of go over here, go the other side. But if you had done this with straight black without watering it down, it's going to look so dark. So make sure you tone it down. And then remember, watercolor fades as it dries. So it's no big deal. I feel like it looks a little dark, but I'm going to be okay with that. I do think it's going to fade out. So let's do, inside of our cup is going to be just a little bit darker than the outside. Try to leave a little white line between the inside of the cup and your coffee. So I just tap some of that down and now I'm pulling it around. And then I'm going to tap a little bit more in on this side. And I just keep dampening the brush. Okay. And then I'm leaving the rim alone because I'm going to paint that gold. So I'm going to do the sides here. And I want it a little darker on that edge. The sides here. And then I'm going to turn the paper just because I want to kind of use the belly of my brush to just pull that around. And now we have our cup. So now I'm going to switch to a little brush. I'm going to put in this detailing up in here, and then we're going to work on some of the detailing on our sweater. So I'm getting the brush wet, and I have a spray bottle. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Sometimes with watercolor, you want to spray it so you don't damage your brush trying to get it wet. I'm going to not spray it over my painting, though, because it's going to cause a problem. So I just sprayed it with some water from this trusty little spray bottle I have. And now I can get into the paint and I don't have to worry about digging around with my brush. Okay. So this is just a really fun gold metallic color. And we are going to rim this coffee mug. And this is what adds that little touch to it, is just this like gold little rim. Then you can turn it into like a holiday card or something and you have a lot of fun with it. Okay. Go around. And it may not show up as well on here, but it is really shiny. It'll be a nice touch. And when I worked in catering, we had these really fancy glasses, fancy coffee cups that had the gold rim that we had only used for special events. I need some more water on my brush. Okay, so now you have your little wedges of your coffee cup. Let's put a little bit of gold on the edge of our handle because it's fun. And it sparkles, and I'm a sucker for sparkles. Okay. We're still letting this dry just a little bit, but we are almost done with this project. So I'm using the little brush and that shadow color that we were using there, and we're just going to put a shadow under the cup. Make it look like it's kind of sitting on a table. Let's switch to a bigger brush. So I like you guys to see this when I'm painting it for the first time so you can see that it's okay to change your mind in the middle and it's okay to adjust. And just because it isn't working exactly how you had it in your head doesn't mean it's wrong. You just try something a little different. Okay, and so now we're just gonna buff that out. I think buffing is probably the wrong word, but we're buffing out that shadow. This paper is actual cotton, so it does get a little buildups every once in a while. I have long fingernails, so I'm just getting rid of that. Ta-da! Okay. Now we're gonna take our smaller brush and we're gonna work on this little sweater. And since I did it in blue, I'm gonna get some more of the blue. And if I'm feeling squirrely, I might throw some red into here and make purple. I don't know. But what I'm going to do first is these lines in between that we had just sketched. I need more water. Okay. And as you can see, this first one that I put in is too dark. So we're just going to take the brush and use that color to pull over here. Pretend like that's where I just got all my color from. Get a little bit more water. We're just lifting it a little bit. And we have another line over here on the edge. Now, for the rest of the sweater, you can use a pen or you can use your paintbrush. I like to use my paintbrush, and I am just going to lightly put in these shapes. Before I do that, I'm going to actually add a shadow right here under. Thinking it needs a shadow. And if you saw while I did the shadow, I tried to kind of give it a scalloped edge because this is kind of a scalloped thing. We're just doing just a little bit of a shadow here for where that comes down. And we're not going to have it here because this part sticks out. So we have the shadow there. Okay. So now I'm going to go back in and finish doing these. I'm just kind of dipping my brush in water, and then I'm trying to make sure I get rid of, I always end up with this little dot of water on the frenule, and it causes me problems because it drips onto my painting. So I always try to get rid of that. Shadow didn't go up far enough. A little bit more. Okay, and now we go around the other side, and this is kind of darker in a shadow, so we just darken it up with the blue. Water, paint. And I guess we could call these sketchbook exercises. You could just do them in your sketchbook if you didn't want to use a card for them and play with how you like them. So I'm just adding a little bit of darkness right in here. Okay. Now I'm going to do the bottom part. Okay, so that all looks pretty good. I think I want to darken up over on this side a little. So I am just kind of blending all that out a little. I'm going to darken up the bottom. So I'm just blending. I'm going to switch brushes, paper towel. You don't want it super wet. In a acrylic, this is kind of called scumbling. And if you did the pumpkin painting with me, this is kind of how I did the pumpkins too. And if you worry that that's all gone, we can just always add it back. I feel like this got a little too delineated, I think is the word that I want. So we're just going to darken that up. And we need this to be quite a bit darker over here because it's going back around the cup and going around the cup. Okay. And then this line faded out way too much. Okay. So let's add a little bit more darkness. And then just blend it out. And then put some more on this side. And blend it back. Sometimes it's easier to blend if you move the paper. Just blendy, blendy, blendy. Very exciting, huh? All right, so we're going to give this section a chance to dry, and we're going to kind of touch up this coffee a little bit. Because as you can see, it dried, and we got a lot of reds and a bunch of colors, but it's not dark enough for my kind of coffee. Or you could say it's hot chocolate. So we're just going to go back in, try to protect our gold with just a little bit more. Really on that edge inside. Now, if you want this to be like foamy, you can always use a sea sponge. I use those all the time to add like a foamy texture. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to get the little brush while everything's still wet. I don't want to mess with here just yet because everything really needs to dry. So we're getting some bleed proof white. We're watering it down a decent amount. And we're just going to do some little smoke wisps. It's just steam and it needs to be kind of wiggly. It's not looking super great. I think it's giving the impression that we need a paper towel to tone that down just a little bit. It's close enough to what I wanted. But this bleed proof white would be great for your latte art or anything else. All right, we're going to grab the little brush. We're going to add in some few little last details and we're going to be done with this. So I'm getting the turquoise blue. And I'm wondering how this is going to work because it's really wet. And it's pretty wet, so we're going to lose a lot of that texture. But that's okay. Sometimes it doesn't work the way you want it to, and I am certainly not patient enough to wait. But I'll just add in those ridges again. Okay. And then just here's where you make some final adjustments. It's way too light right in here. It was bugging me, so we're adding some more. And it's way too light right in here. This part just needs to be darker. We're going to let that dry for a second and see if we need to add in any additional details with either a gel pen. Well, let's see what happens. Okay, that's actually kind of nice. Because the paint's still wet, This is just coming on. And it's just a little touch. And I don't know if we want to do all of them up in here. Okay, there you have it. I think that little bit added what I needed. So let's see if it can make the little zigzaggy cables for us. We already put them in dark, but just adding them in white. If you don't have a white gel pen, you can do this with the bleed proof white. And there you have it. It is a coffee cup wearing a sweater. So once it dries, and I'm going to say you definitely want to wait till it dries, you can glue this to your little card. I'm going to put the bleed proof white on so you can see. There, we'll put it over there. And then you're all done. It's a super quick little fun thing to do. Don't forget to sign it. You can be like me and sign inside the painting, or you can sign down in the corner. It's however you want to do it. But let's call this done because it's just a quick little tutorial and we're just really practicing our skills. And I hope you guys had a good time. Next week is a crochet week. I haven't decided what I'm making yet for the crochet week. And then the week after that, we are doing forest creatures. If you want outlines for any of the larger paintings, they're available at drunkenauntwendydesigns.com. And it's $1 and you can get a downloadable PDF of the outlines so you can print out and paint along with me. Shoot me a message on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram if you have any questions or requests. Have a great weekend. Bye.